Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Fit Vegan podcast. Today we have a special guest. We have Julian Hierro. We just had a massive leg session. Absolutely crushed each other. It was crazy.
Yes.
So, man, thank you for bringing me through that workout. I'm excited to have you on the podcast.
My pleasure to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
How you doing today? I'm gonna relax.
I'm a bit tired from all the squats and all the leg presses and everything we did, but feeling freaking awesome, man.
Yeah, those hip thrusters at the end were
They were hard.
busted a vein. I wasn't ready for that amount of weight. That was intense.
Dude, I don't know how the girls do it with the same weight. I was like, really?
Yeah, and more reps.
And more reps. They crushed us. That's incredible. Yeah, I'm twins. Yeah, they crushed those.
We're trying to match up to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Not there yet, but we'll try.
Yeah. And actually, I want to talk about them too, because I want to talk about your transition story, right? Of how you came to veganism, because it's been 2 years now, or like...
Since I went vegan?
Yes, since you went vegan.
I went vegan in January 2020, so 1 year and 5 months.
1 year and 5 months.
Yeah.
All right. So I know a lot of people that would be listening are wanting to transition, and one of the big fears is like losing muscle mass and all that stuff. But first, I want to go into your transition story.
Okay.
So, like, what made you want to consider veganism and actually made you do it?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. But I met Eileen, actually, I don't remember when I met her. I think it was 2019, yeah. Beginning of 2019, we dated for a year. And she kept telling me about, when I met her, I had no idea what veganism was or vegetarian. I like, those are crazy people that let us, that's all I think.
We eat tree barks and grass.
Yeah, that's what I thought veganism was. And I was like, vegans are just crazy people. I don't know anything about them. But I met her, we started hanging out, we started dating, and obviously she's been vegan for a very long time. And she started telling me about the lifestyle. And every time we had a discussion about why should I go vegan, the health reasons or performance reasons, she couldn't convince me, because there's always arguments against that you could use. But every time she brought ethical point of view, like, hey, you're an animal lover and you're doing this, you're like contradicting yourself. I was like, I have nothing to tell you again. Like, I have no rebuttal against that. You're right. So we were in that that phase for about a year, and then in January 2020. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna do it for 2 weeks and see what happens. See how I feel. See if it's hard, if it's not, and then here I am, a year and a half later.
Yeah, that is true. That is pretty much the only argument you can't say anything against.
Yeah, exactly, man. Because it's always, there's people that eat meat that are very healthy. There's vegans that are very healthy. There's vegans that are very unhealthy, and there's people that eat meat that are very unhealthy. So you can be healthy and unhealthy with both lifestyles. But when you bring the ethics into it, there's nothing to say against that. If you're someone who cares about the planet, the animals, etc., etc.
Yeah, and just to be clear, for some people that may not know who the OM twins are, Eileen is one of the twins.
Yeah, she's my twins, my girlfriend.
Okay, and so did it happen like overnight, or did you take like a few weeks to substitute some meals, or was it like the next day?
It was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna try for 2 weeks, and then overnight I just like did it. It wasn't hard because I also was dating with Eileen for a year already, so I knew the meals, I knew everything, and I had all the knowledge about nutrition, about macros, so I knew how to set it up. So I just did it overnight.
Okay, and so basically you just stick with the same macro. I think we talked a little bit before, right? You stuck with the same macros, but then just found different alternatives.
Yeah, basically. Everything stayed the same. I didn't nothing changed. I didn't feel better. I didn't feel worse. I think I started eating more veggies, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But that's just because I started eating more veggies. There was nothing there was no special reason. For some reason, I started eating more veggies. But the amount of protein, the amount of calories, the amount of carbohydrates, the amount of fats I was consuming stayed the same. My performance in the gym was the same. My body composition stayed the same. I didn't lose any muscle. I just pretty much was the same person. And I still am. Well, I've gained muscle since, so I'm a little better in that sense now. And I'm not harming animals, so I think that's even better.
Yeah. Was there like a little bit of fear transitioning of like what's going to happen to like my body composition or like muscle mass? I know you're like doing CrossFit and you were very athletic before too. So being from that background, there's still that fear of like losing muscle mass. Was that something that showed up for you?
Not at all, because I knew that in the end, what matters when you want to retain muscle or build more muscle are just, you just got to worry about the amount of calories you eat, the amount of protein you eat, the amount of carbohydrates, the amount of fats you eat, and the training you do. And I haven't talked about where the protein comes from. I haven't talked about anything else. So you got to make sure you're eating sufficient protein to retain the amount of muscle you have, or to build more muscle. and you gotta make sure you're eating sufficient calories depending on what you want to do. If you want to like lose body fat, if you want to gain muscle, if you want to maintain. So if you hit those things and you're training properly, then you have nothing to worry about. You're not gonna lose any muscle. You can even improve your body composition if you do it right. I've had a lot of people that come for help and tell me I went vegan and I lost a lot of muscle. And that happens because they don't set up their nutrition properly. They go vegan, they stop eating protein, they stop training.
It's just carbs and low calories.
Yeah, you'll see carbs and no protein, and then your muscles, they need protein to stay in your body. So if you don't eat protein, you're gonna lose muscle for sure. It's the same thing. If an omnivore stops eating meat and he used to train and need a lot of protein, he's gonna lose muscle too. So it's just a matter of lifestyle choices and setting up your nutrition and your training properly, and then you can do whatever you want.
Hey man, that was perfect. So I'll just like address the comments before, because like I'm sure you get them all the time too. So now like the amount of protein is the same, but now there's the argument of like incomplete protein, which we know is bullshit. But like I'd love to hear your point of view on that when you first transition. Like,
yeah, so there's some arguments against that you know some of the sources
like rice and beans.
Yeah,
together.
some of the sources are not complete protein. So I mean, there might be a little bit happening there, but you can make up for it by consuming a little bit more protein. So usually, but you know, the thing is, those are like minor details that 90% of the population don't need to worry about. If you're a physique athlete and you want to do like bodybuilding shows, or you're like a strength athlete and you really worry about, you know, your muscle mass and how much muscle you're building and your performance, then yes, you gotta address all those little details and make sure you're consuming a little bit more protein. So instead of like 1 gram per pound, you consume 1.1, 1.2, a little bit more. But most people in the world don't need to consume that much protein because they don't want to be physique athletes. They just want to look a little better, like lose a little bit of body fat, build a little bit of muscle. So at the end of the day, if you're someone who just wants to improve your body composition a little bit, all you gotta worry about is consuming sufficient protein. That's like between 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight. That's it. If you do that, you're gonna be fine.
Yeah, and so you brought up like physique athletes, people that want to compete. You just competed.
Yeah.
Right? You just won. It was your first show.
Yeah.
First, and as a vegan as well, right? Do you mind sharing about that experience and how the prep went?
That was one of the toughest things I've done in my life, to be honest, because bodybuilding, it's a full prep, right? It's 4 months of dieting until you get to the day of the show. So I used to play soccer in college, which is kind of high level, not professional, but it was very serious. And you know, when you do soccer or football, you go into the game for 2 hours, you give it your best, you suffer if you need to suffer, you give it your all, and then it's done, and then you go and you chill. But in bodybuilding, there's no way to do that because you gotta be on the same amount of calories every single day. You gotta be training on point every freaking day out of the week for 4 months. So you don't take a break for 4 months. You like literally function as a robot. And when the calories get low, it's tough. I mean, it was a hard prep. Very, very hard for your mindset, especially when you're running a business, when you have to interact with other people because you get cranky, you get in a bad mood. But at the end of the day, you just got to remember that the low calories have an effect on you, and you got to be mindful of the way you act, the way you address people, the way you behave. And if you do that, you're going to be fine. You're obviously going to have days where you're not in the best mood, but it's part of the process. Everyone that has ever done a bodybuilding prep probably has gone through those days.
Yeah. Those were hard weeks before leading up to the show.
Yeah, you ask yourself a lot of times, why the hell am I doing this?
Yeah, but you're so far along, it's like I just can't give up.
2 more weeks, just fucking 2 more weeks, let's just get it done. But yeah, man, it was fun. It was a lot of learning, a lot of things that could have been done better, but it was the first show, so I see it as a sport. You know, when you play, again, I'm going to use the soccer example. When you play soccer, you got a game. You can make a mistake in a game, and for the next game, you try to get better. It's the same, you know, you make mistakes, and then for the next prep, you're going to do it better because you've got experience that you got from the first prep.
Yeah, and just the fact that you won too, even though it wasn't perfect. Imagine the next show.
Yeah, well, I'm excited, man. It's a very fun sport.
Yeah. Yes. Once was enough for me, but I appreciate all the effort that goes into it.
Yeah, man.
It's hard.
It is really hard. It's really hard mentally. It's very mental bodybuilding. I acquire respect for the guys that are like professionals because it is very hard mentally. At the beginning of the year, we were planning the year, and we were like, we're going to compete in April, we're going to compete in November. That was the plan that we did in January. After we competed in April, no, like 2 weeks before we were going to compete, we were like, screw that, we're not going to compete in November. We're going to take a full year off because, again, we don't want to diet for 8 months. That's just,
it's a lot.
miserable. You're going to be miserable for 8 months out of the year. So we just decided to take a full year and a half to, improve, gain muscle, to work on other goals, and then November next year we're gonna step on stage again and hopefully bring a better physique, better show, everything.
Nice. Yeah. Once as you plan your first show, you get excited. It's like, I'm gonna be lean. I'll just do a whole bunch of them. And then you do the first one. You're like, okay, I need to bulk up. Yeah. I need a break. My body needs to rest. So, if people don't, I'm sure people will know who you are already at this point. But we help people for a living transform their bodies, and your brand is Jacked Vegan, so helping people get jacked.
Yeah.
So I'm more on like the fat loss, like getting athletic part. Mm-hmm. So I would love your insights for them, because they always ask me to get jacked. I'm like, I like staying small. So what would be like for people that are looking to get jacked as a vegan?
Well,
right?
I mean, we
covered it a bit, but
it's just hitting the things you gotta hit, right? So you gotta nail down your nutrition. You gotta make sure you're eating sufficient protein. Okay, protein is very important. And if you want to build muscle, you gotta make sure you're eating sufficient protein. The recommendations that we give is somewhere between 0.8 to 1.1 grams per pound of body weight. Obviously, that has some variation. That's very individual. If you're like someone who's very overweight, you might not need that much protein. But in general, for general population, somewhere between that range is gonna be more than enough. So you gotta make sure you're hitting that. You gotta make sure that you establish a goal that you want to work towards. So either that's fat loss, either that's muscle gain, or if you're in a maintenance phase, you gotta know why you're gonna be doing a maintenance phase. So you set your protein, you set your goal, you set your calories, and then you gotta make sure you're doing the right training. So if you're doing fat loss or muscle gain, you wanna be doing hypertrophy training. So that's training designed to grow your muscles. It's generally high volume training, so lots of sets, lots of reps, and moderate weights. If you're in a maintenance phase, you can pair it out with more strength-like training. And then you want to take a high-level view approach of your year. Like, hey, we're going to periodize this year. What do I want to accomplish this year? I'm going to be losing fat for this amount of time. I'm going to take my body to this amount of body fat, and then once I'm here, I'm going to start gaining muscle. So it's a lot of like nuances because it's a lot of planning that can be done, and the more planning you do, the more of an intelligent approach you use towards planning your training, your nutrition, the better the results you'll get. But general tips, just make sure you're doing hypertrophy training, eat the right amount of calories for your goal, and eat sufficient protein. If you do those things, you're gonna be one step ahead than most people. And
so that's perfect. I appreciate that, because it's not as complicated as people think, but it's easy to say, but it's hard to do for people to stick with, right?
Yeah.
And especially when you're getting at the end of a cut and kind of end of a prep. Like you were there a few weeks ago, like I think a month ago.
Yeah, no, like 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so like, he's at 4,000 calories now.
No, I'm aiming for that. I'm a happy human being now.
Yeah. So like I'm 2 weeks away from ending my cut, so I'm on the like low side. Your breakfast was like half the food for my day.
My breakfast this morning was like almost all the food I was eating on the prep.
Yeah. Actually, it was pretty close. Yeah. So I know people kind of despise hunger when it comes to cutting.
Yes.
And it's obviously a very real part of when you're trying to improve your body composition, whether it's to just step on stage or to be ready for the beach. So what do you say to your members and your clients when it comes to like, hey, Julian, I'm hungry, right? Like I need more food.
Yeah, that's a great question. So first, the first thing you gotta make sure that you're doing is when you start a fat loss phase, you wanna make sure that you're eating the most amount of food that you can while you still get to lose fat. Let's say that if you can lose fat and you can like improve your body composition to 2,500 calories, there's no reason for you to eat 1,500 calories. You're just gonna make yourself miserable, right? So eat the most amount of calories while you still get to hit your goal. Okay, that way you get to eat the most amount of food. So that's number one. Number two, make sure you're picking also the high protein consumption that helps with satiety. So protein is a macronutrient that helps you feel fuller for a longer period of time. And then pick whole foods most of the time for your carb sources and your fat sources. That way you're eating high volume foods that are not as calorie dense. And also you gotta understand that at some point you're gonna be hungry. And there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, there's a couple things you can do, but you just gotta be hungry and that's it. Always keeping in mind that a fat loss phase is gonna end. It's not gonna be forever. that's one of the things I tell my clients, like, hey, yeah, it's gonna suck. At some point, it's gonna start sucking, and you gotta just embrace the suck, and you gotta always remember that after 12 weeks or 16 weeks at the most, or 10 weeks, it's gonna end, and your calories are gonna go back up, and you're gonna go into maintenance, and you're gonna feel freaking awesome. But you just gotta make that little sacrifice for those 10 to 16 weeks. And if you think about it if you're 30 years old, 3 months is like nothing in your life.
Small chunk of your life.
It's nothing. And if those 3 months are going to make a huge, significant change in your health, in the way you feel, and the way you look, in your health, in your fitness, and the way you feel when you look at yourself in the mirror, then it's worth the sacrifice. It's just 3 months where you're making a sacrifice, you're being strict with your diet, and then you get to take a break. It's really not that much time.
Yeah.
So just embrace it. Drink coffee.
Yeah, drink coffee, sparkling water, smaller fork and spoon, smaller plate.
Diet soda. I drank a lot of diet soda in my prep, just because it helps. It helps you stay on track, and it feels good.
Yeah, the analogy I use is because it is such a short period of time. It's basically like the cramming of studying you have to do before your exams at university. Like, it's not like that the whole time, but you just have to do it now to make sure you pass, and then you're done, and then you're good.
Yeah, it's fine. You take a break, and then it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, because I'm hungry now. Right? I had 600 calories before a workout. You had like 1,500 before a workout.
Yes.
I was a bit hungry, but it's a part of the game.
It's part of the game, definitely.
So, in terms of, because obviously there's the people mistaken that when they go vegan or they start eating whole food plant-based, that they're automatically going to get lean and they're going to improve their body composition, right? And we both know it's not true, because most common mistake people make is they just go for high carb, they go for fruits, veggies, grains. Like, it's healthy, it's colorful, it's all plants, but the shift in body composition doesn't take place. I already know the answer. We already covered it like 2 times already. But just for the people listening, so it doesn't come just from me.
No, we gotta repeat it. Yeah, repetition is important.
What makes a difference in helping someone improve their body composition when they go plant-based?
Eat sufficient protein. Don't be against processed foods, because processed foods make our lives very, very easy, right? If you gotta eat 190 grams of protein, and you want to get that from lentils and beans, you're gonna have to get a ton of freaking lentils.
That's all your carbs.
And then it comes with a huge amount of carbs, because lentils are mainly a carbohydrate source. And then your calories are gonna be off the roof, and you're not gonna be able to do it. If you eat some lentils and then you add 2 smoothies a day with some protein powder, is what? You can get like 60 to 70 grams of protein without a bunch of carbohydrates and fats, and it's gonna help your body composition. Include a little bit of tofu, include a little bit of seitan, and that's it. That's all you gotta do. That's gonna make you hit high protein intake without adding a bunch of calories from carbohydrates and fats.
So actually, you brought up soy, which is a big concern for a lot of people when they transition to a vegan diet. And then when they learn that they have to eat higher protein, they're like, I don't know how to hit this with beans and lentils. And then I'll usually go, well, soy and tempeh are there for you. So what are your thoughts on soy and tempeh?
I think they're awesome. Yeah, I eat a lot of soy.
Right, and
I was eating 2.5 blocks per day on the prep. So like 2.5 boxes of soy every day.
Yeah, and no breast came, like nothing. You don't have man boobs.
I don't have titties. trying to grow my titties. But
yeah. That's the main thing. People are like, well, I don't want to, like, especially for the guys. Well, it's because I think that happens from eating meat. To be honest, with all the hormone that's in the meat, not from soy. Which actually, if you guys are listening, we did an episode with Dr. Matthew Nagra where we covered all the benefits of soy and to not shy away from it. But in it, he talked about where there was one study where they tried to see how much was too much, and I think they got to 17, and there was like a 0.1% difference. But that's the equivalent of 17 blocks of tofu a day. Like, no one would eat that.
Now.
That's a lot. That's like a lot of protein.
Imagine how that feel on you. Yeah,
that's way too much.
Tofu coming out of your eyes.
Yeah, it's just all you're eating all day to hit your numbers. Cool, man. Well, so one thing I wanted to ask you is, where can people find you? Because we're both coaches. I love supporting the community. For me, as long as people are getting their lives changed and they're thriving on plants, right? Like, I come from the angle of cancer because of what I've gone through. I don't want anyone to have to go through this or what I've gone through with Jen. And so as long as anyone can thrive on plants, I'm freaking excited. So, you know, where can people can find you? Where can people connect with you? Because I know you have some really good content.
Just the main place is my Instagram. It's first and last name, Julian, Hierro, Hierro. I also have a blog where I post content I post one new article a month, and it's really good content. It's jackvegans.com. And yeah, those are the two places where I'm most active. So if you want to check me out, then you can find me there. You can DM me. I'll reply to you if you want to interact with me.
Cool. Yeah, I'll link everything down below so you guys can check it out. If you're on YouTube or on podcast, all the links will be down there. So before I wrap it up, is there any piece of wisdom or knowledge that you want to instill amongst people?
I mean, I think I'll just reiterate the processed foods and the protein powder. Like, I see so many people online and social media just being against it. And there's a lot of processed stuff that you probably consider healthy. Olive oil, almond butter, peanut butter, guacamole, it's freaking processed, right? So the fact that something's processed doesn't mean that it's bad for you. And protein powder makes our lives very, very easy, so don't be afraid of it. And yeah, make sure you're eating healthy, you're training, and you're consistent with it. That's about it.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you, man. Well, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. I'm happy to be in Playa. It's freaking beautiful
man, it's
here.
good to have you here, man.
Yeah.
We're trying to get you to come down and move over here, man.
It might happen. I'm here for longer, so
yeah.
This is probably going to come out next week, so I'll still be here. We'll do some more training sessions. So yeah, guys, be sure to check him out. If ever you have any questions, just comment them down below. If you're on YouTube, if you're on podcast, just head over to Instagram, mine or his. Ask us any question that you want. We're always there to help. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you all next week.
Thank you, man.
Cool. Thank you, man.